We're joined now from Irvine, California, by the Republican Party's nominee to be a U.S. Senator from California, Carla Fiorina, who is a former business executive with Hewlett-Packard most prominently, and now, as I said, the Republicans' candidate to face off against the incumbent, Barbara Boxer. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's great to be with you, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Let me ask you first to warm up. First-time candidate for public office. You've been involved in public life for a long time. What have you learned about being a candidate for elective office that you didn't know before, despite all your experience in the public eye?
Well, I guess I would start by saying I didn't know how much I would enjoy it, and I really do enjoy it. You know, you have an opportunity to meet so many fantastic people. This is a wonderful state, although California is in a state of great distress. But it's a wonderful state, it's diverse, and, you know, it's a privilege to be able to travel up and down this beautiful state and meet so many fantastic people and hear their stories. So what surprises me most, honestly, is how much fun I'm having.
Jobs is the big issue in your race. Your website and everything else about the coverage of the race and the attitude of voters is about jobs. Let me ask you to speak as an expert on the economy, not as a politician for just a second or a candidate, but people say jobs is the big issue. Characterize for me, if you can, in quantitative terms, how bad is the joblessness situation in your state in historic context?
Well, our joblessness situation is as bad as it has been since the end of the Great Depression. We are dealing statewide with 12.3% unemployment. We have over 2.2 million people out of work. We have the highest year-over-year job loss of any state in the nation. Of the 12 metropolitan areas in the nation with unemployment above 15%, we have 10 of them. We have 21 counties with unemployment above 15%. The unemployment rate in California in February of '09, when the stimulus bill passed, was 10.2%. It is now 12.3%. Our cities are bankrupt. Our state is, for all practical purposes, bankrupt. California is in terrible shape. And it's in terrible shape because of the policies that people like Barbara Boxer support.
So best case for you, I assume, correct me if I'm wrong, is you get elected, you go to Washington with majorities, Republican majorities, your party in control of both the House and the Senate. Is that what you're hoping for?
Look, I'm focused on my race, and I think that the people of California understand that we need to go in a different direction. California, to me, is interesting because, you know, lots of things start in California. Lots of trends have started in California. And California is a canary in the coal mine, honestly. To get too rich, you bankrupt in this case, a city, a state, and you destroy jobs. And that's what we're doing in California. It's not just bad economic times we're living through. We're destroying jobs. Businesses of all sizes are leaving. And that's why our unemployment rate is at historic highs. And that's why we have to change the policies that are being pursued in Washington. There are things that I must work with Democrats on, and I intend to, including getting the water turned back on in our historic Central Valley.
I was sort of setting you up for a different question as kind of a throwaway line, but you surprised me with your answer. Let me just ask you directly. Do you or do you not hope that Republicans control the House and the Senate after the November elections? Yes or no?
Well, of course I hope that. But you know what? What I know is that each of these elections in every state and every district are up to the voters. And what I intend to do is work with whomever is in Washington to get some of our problems solved with some common sense solutions. And I answered the question the way I did, Mark, because frankly, I'm not a politician. I've never run for office before. And what I hear from the people of California is they're tired of professional politicians. And they're tired of them because it all seems to be about whose team is winning. And it's not about whether or not the people of California or the people in America are winning. We got to solve some problems now.
Let me ask you about a couple of foreign policy issues. The candidate you supported in the last presidential race, Mitt Romney, and a lot of other Republicans have been outspoken in expressing concern about China and the military threat that China poses to the United States. What do you think the dimensions of the military threat China poses in the short term and the long term are to the United States and its interests around the world?
Well, I don't think in the short term China poses a military threat. But I do think that we need to deal with China as both an extremely important ally and trading partner and an extremely headstrong and increasingly powerful force in the region. I have done business in China for many, many years, traveled there for many years, and what I observe about Chinese policymakers is they're very pragmatic. What they are driven mostly by is a calculation of what is in their own economic self-interest. And so I believe the United States needs to do a much better job of redefining how China views its economic self-interest. Example, we need to press on China's violations of the WTO agreements. We need to protect more aggressively our intellectual property. Billions of dollars worth of our intellectual property is pirated each year in China. That affects California most specifically. We need to really stay on the areas where we have economic differences while acknowledging that there are many, many areas where we are helping each other in real economic terms.
If you get elected, one of the issues you'll certainly have to deal with is Afghanistan. You write on your website that the U.S. should stay there, quote, stay until our job is done. There's been a lot of debate lately about what that means, what it means to, what is the U.S. job there. So let me ask you again to define, when you say our job is done, what is the job that needs to be done? How would you define it?
We cannot permit Al-Qaeda or its allies, let us call them, from having a safe haven in Afghanistan or on the lawless border regions between Afghanistan and Pakistan. We cannot permit them a safe haven from which to plan and execute attacks against our interests around the world. It is as simple as that. And part of that requires us to make sure that in alliance with the Afghan government, to make sure that the Afghan people believe that there is a credible alternative to rule by the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. I support President Obama's policies in Afghanistan. I know General Petraeus personally, having done work with the CIA and the Defense Business Department. General Petraeus is as fine a military leader as we have, and I think we need to let him decide what is necessary for us to accomplish that important but limited mission.
So if that mission were unachieved and the military's recommendation was, analysis was that it was unachieved, would you say American troops could and should stay there for 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years?
Well, I think we need to allow General Petraeus to tell us what he thinks it takes. I am reminded of the fact that the mood of the nation when General Petraeus first stepped forward and recommended a surge in troops in Iraq, the mood of the nation was quite similar to the mood now. I understand why people are disheartened, but General Petraeus recommended a surge. The surge was accomplished. Things turned around in Iraq. It's still, of course, a problematic situation, but we are far better off today. And today we can say, I think with some confidence, that we have accomplished much in Iraq. So I think we need to allow General Petraeus to assess the situation and come back as he is planning to do in December and tell the president, our commander-in-chief, and the nation what he thinks it's going to take.
Okay. Last question. We'll let you get back to the campaign trail and all that fun meeting voters. Are you the favorite in this race or are you the underdog?
Well, I think incumbent politicians are always in a position of strength, and certainly that is true in a state like California. But I think what's telling is that among voters of all political stripes in California, the number one issue is jobs, and close behind is out-of-control government spending. And when you look at swing voters in this state, who will be key, the swing voters say Barbara Boxer needs to go.
All right, so we're going to make you the underdog for now. Is that fair?
You can make me whatever you want. In the end, the voters are going to decide.
Okay. Carly Fiorina, again, the Republican nominee out in California. Very big, expensive state to run in. You'll have to spend a lot on TV ads, but also as you're doing to meet voters, you have to spend a lot of time on airplanes. So please be safe and have fun as you are. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Great to talk to you.
Great. Thank you both. I really appreciate it. It was very nice of you to take the time.